Do. All right. Hello.
Hi, hello there.
Hey. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. I was like,
Got it though.
what's
We,
going on? But we did it. We're here. All right. So I was just sharing with everyone that this is She Exudes Now Virtual Talks. And we are here today to discuss creating balance and wearing all the hats, wearing multiple hats. And all week I have been talking about balance, what that looks like, whether or not we can create balance. Is it possible? How do we avoid burnout? How do we just maintain our sanity?
yeah,
Because we as women have so many things going on, men as well, but
indeed.
particularly women, we have so many things going on. So
Definitely.
let me first just introduce my guest and allow her to have a moment to just tell us a little bit about her because believe it or not, she can describe herself best. But my guest today is Lady Kara Payne,
All right.
and I'm sorry, Car
Yes.
Payne. Yes, and you've told me that before. Car Payne, and she is a blogger. She is a first lady, and she is also a mom of a toddler, which I know makes her world so busy. So I am going to allow her to just share a little bit more about herself and what kind of hats you wear.
Well, Alicia, first of all, thank you so much for this invitation and just creating this space because, as you said, as women, as mothers, as entrepreneurs, it just runs the gamut and we all do so much. So, just this idea of just talking and sharing things that have worked in our lives, you just never know where someone may get that inspiration. So, I just appreciate you for the
You're
invitation
so welcome.
and
Mm-hmm.
sharing space. As you alluded to, yes, I am a wife, just celebrated 5 years of marriage.
Yay.
We've been together for 11, though.
Oh,
So
wow.
new to this, but and yes, together we share a wonderful son, Marcus the second. We call him Deuce. There'll be two next month. So we're entering the terrific twos, and that's
Mhm.
First Lady LLC a couple months ago now, but the blog is also kind of in its infancy. It's just been over a year that I started blogging to share my story about what it's like being a millennial pastor's wife, doing all the things, wearing different hats, being a community servant, as well as a wife and a mom, recognizing that my family is my first ministry,
Mhm.
but also being a pastor's wife, what that looks like in 2022, 2021 in the 21st century. So
Yes.
it's a lot, but the journey has been amazing. And so again, I just thank you for the opportunity to be here. Are you hearing that buzz sound?
I am not sure what it is, but
Let me see
I
if I can.
am.
I don't know what that is.
Well, thank you, Cara, for sharing that. And I neglected to share a little bit more about myself. So I am a certified life coach, and I specialize in confidence and empowerment for women. I'm also an author, blogger, and a mother as well. I have a 14-year-old, and it bothers me every day when I think about how tall he's getting, how his voice is getting deeper, and I'm just like, I just want to coddle you and have you be my little baby forever. But he is a teenager. He's growing up into a young man, and so that's a whole new set of troubles to worry about in the future. But just thank God for just everything that we have, all of our blessings, and just being there to keep me and to be the best parent that I can be. So we know as parents, we're often hard on ourselves,
Indeed.
and especially working mothers in particular, because there's always that struggle of wanting to be there for your family, be there to raise your child, but also wanting to, do the things that you may have gone to school for, that you feel called to do, to explore your ambitions as well. So it's like this tug of war. Like you want to do this, you want to pour more into your community, but at the same time, you want to be able to give all of yourself to your loved ones. And it's like, how do you do it? How do you
Yeah.
manage? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, let's just jump right into our questions. All right. So the first one was, what does creating balance in life mean to you? And in your opinion, are you able or do you believe that people are able to create a balanced lifestyle?
So yeah, I that's these are great questions. So thank you first for the question. So when I think about creating balance and what that looks like for me, I don't know that when we talk about balance that each aspect of your life is getting equal amount of your time and attention. But for me, creating a balanced life looks like nothing is lacking, nothing is suffering because of other parts of your life. So it's one thing to, put your husband or your child on a pedestal and just forsake everything else that you've got going on. I'm not talking about that. What a balanced life looks like for me is that is my husband happy? Is he fulfilled? Is my child happy and fulfilled? Do they have their basic needs met? So for me, it's more about nothing lacking um, in those different aspects of my life. And what I will say is that I also think about it in terms of like the vows and commitments I made. And
Mm,
so, first and foremost, as a believer, I made a vow when I gave my life to Christ that I would live and serve for Him. When I married my husband, I made a vow before God that I
mm-hmm,
would cherish him. And also, on the same vein, when we decided to have a child, we made a vow to train them up in the way that they should go.
mm-hmm,
And so, am I fulfilling those vows and those commitments that I made? Also, is an important aspect of what a balanced life, I would say.
mm-hmm. Yes, that's awesome. I love that point of view of how you make these vows and for you to be able to measure up and compare yourself at that point in time and say, am I really committing or saying that I'm, doing what I said I was going to do?
Right.
And so that's a good point. Now, this was not one of the questions that I asked you, but have you ever felt like you weren't fulfilling your vows, or that maybe you were a little short on something that you said that you were going to do? And if so, how did that make you feel?
Well, you kind of alluded to this when we first opened, um, that mom guilt is real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess you could say that the same for wife guilt. And when I became a mom, that was the one advice that I was given. It was like, when your child is grown and gone, to live their lives, it's just gonna be you two. So don't
Mm-hmm.
wrapped up in the mom life that you do put your husband on the back burner. My mom gave me advice. She was like, when you come home, you're gonna want to rush to cuddle and love on that baby, but
Yes.
acknowledge him when you come in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so just different things like that. So you know but when I do have those moments where I'm like, man, I'm not up on it, I'm not at the level that I feel like I should be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just taking a moment to just recenter myself and give myself that grace, recognizing that, we're all works in progress. It's a journey for everyone. The goal is perfection, but we're not going to see perfection on
Mm-hmm.
story, so it's in that pressing, that desire, and that's my
Mm-hmm.
intent. I'm not intending to not, show my husband enough affection or my child enough attention. That's never the intent. And so my
Mm-hmm.
intentions obviously are to to be there and show up in the ways that I know they need me to.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's grace in that, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's just not beating yourself up, because you can have a moment. You can be like, man,
Mm-hmm.
but don't stay there. You got
Yes,
to push it. You got to keep pushing. So that,
definitely. Yeah, that's key, because we are going to have those moments. We're going to have those days where we've worked all day or we've run around and we've done so many things. You know, there was a women's retreat or whatever it may be. And then you look up and it's bedtime. It's time to put the kids to bed. And it's just like, okay, well, did I fulfill, my purpose today? Did I give everyone attention? And sometimes you look and you're like, oh, I'm a little short. But what can I do to make that up? What can I do to let my loved ones know that I still love them? Or maybe even my friends that know that, I haven't seen you in a little bit. We haven't talked in a couple weeks, but, you still my girl. We got to hook up. We're going to stick to our commitment with getting back together because we need those things. And, unfortunately, we never know what other people are going through. And so they may be taking your busyness personal. And so we want to let them know that it's never personal. Like you talked about your intentions. Your intentions are good. Your intentions are pure. So,
Alicia, you bring up so many good points because that's one that I am juggling is just those because I'm a socialite.
mm-hmm.
Pre-baby, I know we might talk about it later, but pre-baby, pre-husband, I was on the scene, hanging out with girls,
Yeah.
event at that event. And so, that looks different now. But, and yeah, so, and I get that. Like, my girlfriends are like, hey, where you at? So I love what you said about kind of taking stock of those things and then saying, man, I should, even if it's just, I'm thinking of you, I love you text, that kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
that you're on someone that they're on your mind. Like you never know, like you said, what people are going through, and
Mm-hmm.
Lord puts them on your heart at that moment. Like reach out, do it.
Mm-hmm.
This pandemic has taught us anything. It's just that life is just so precious, and we need to cherish and pour into those, relationships that God has blessed us with. So I love what
Yes.
those friendships are key too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Just checking in when you can. And it
Yeah.
may just be, you're totally busy in the middle of the day on your lunch break. Oh, I haven't checked in with such and such. Let me send a quick text, little emoji, the hug emoji or
Yeah,
something, just to let her know that I'm thinking about her.
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next question. So the next question is, do you believe that it's possible to have the equal level of balance in the scale when you're doing all the things? Um, and do you feel that there's times when it's okay to have a disproportion? So I think we've answered part of the question, but what about the disproportion? And if so, for how long is it okay to live like that?
You know what? I mean, so we know that there are seasons, right? For, everything. I mean, that's scripture. There's a time to
Mm-hmm.
live, a time to die, a time to sow, a time to reap. And so I think it's just being really prayerful about all those different things that are going on in your life. And it's okay, though, for you to know, how do I want to say this? Because we always like, as women, we like to put ourselves on the back burner. We're
Mm-hmm.
earth by nature, but you have to be in tune to what you need as an individual. And so, I use the example, like sometimes, like you said, it's been a long day, a long week, and I've already kind of made up in my mind that tonight's a mommy night. I see.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, calling on the village or calling on your spouse and just giving them a heads up and saying, hey, tonight, babe, I need you to pick up the load because I'm
Mm-hmm.
capacity, and so, and that's okay. Those moments are okay because, as we say all the time, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if
Very
you're
true.
bragging and, that's going to manifest in potentially negative ways. So
Mm-hmm.
take that time and you've evaluated all that you've got going on and you've just reached that point, then take that time to refuel, to rest and recharge. And so, like I said, you that we're again, I know I'm like kind of skipping ahead, but that's why that village is so important, so that you
Mm-hmm.
can make sure that those needs, especially if you do have children, that those needs are being taken care of. But you need to make sure you're doing what you need to do to take care of yourself at the end of the day so that you can continue to show up
Mm-hmm.
for your family, for your friends. So yeah, like I said, I don't know that it's going to be all parts equal all the time, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but just being really in tune to yourself and those that depend on you day to day,
Mm-hmm.
will make a difference. But yeah, all things equal all the time, that doesn't feel realistic, at least not for
Right.
me.
Right. Yeah. And I love how you talked about village. And so I know that was something that we wanted to make sure to talk about and discuss in our conversation because having a village and having a support system is very important. Unfortunately, not all people have that support system. I know for me as a single mom, there have been times when I didn't have it. Either it was that people weren't available or I just didn't really feel like they would be able to meet those needs, or maybe they just didn't exist at the time. And so it's like, well, what do you do then?
Yeah.
So for me personally, I really had to strategize and say, okay, well, if there's a time that I know that I need to be away, I need to, if there's a drop-in daycare, I can do that. Or if there's someone that I've grown to know that has another child and my child can play with them for a little bit, that's great too. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pray. Lord, send me some resources.
I need
Send
a
me some good people,
yeah.
people in your church or in your community or whatever it may be. Send me those people because you know that every now and again I need a break. I need to be able to do this or that, or maybe I just need to go to work. And so, how, who's going to watch my child, whether it be aftercare or daycare, all of those things. So, what about you? What's your village like?
Yeah, so that's awesome. And respect, respect, respect to the single moms that are just out there doing it. I am so in awe of you all, and so you're definitely lifted. And I'm here. I wish I could be like, yeah, I got this, I got them,
Right. It would be like, can I get you for
but
2 hours of babysitting?
yeah. But yeah, no. So we've been super blessed. So my in-laws retired up here from South Florida the same year, like right after we got married, and so Deuce has been with my mother-in-law. I was able to stay home the first 6 months of his life, but that was 3 months maternity, 3 months pandemic.
Mm.
So when I came back into the office, he's been with her ever since. And that's one thing, like nobody has watched him yet in almost 2 years
Oh,
besides.
wow.
And part of that is, I think, new parents and like, ah, and then it's the pandemic. But then it is, some research, and I think that that's kind of gets to what you were talking about. You do have to do your due diligence to think about those people in your village that you could call on, or if you do have to go to an aftercare or some sort of or sitters, like you have to
Hmm.
comfortable. So I've been reaching out like, hey, do you have anybody you can recommend? And they give me contacts, and I haven't moved on them yet, and I need to. That's one thing, because especially with my mother-in-law watching him throughout the day, then if I do have something in the evening or on the weekends, I don't want to burn her out.
Hmm.
I have to keep him longer. So, but we've been blessed. And then my parents are in the Tampa Bay area, so sometimes they've actually made the trip up to Tallahassee and
Nice. Hmm.
been beautiful. So when it's all said and done, I'm just so grateful. So shout out to the village. I don't know who's on,
Yes.
but you all, if you watch, I don't know if we're gonna archive this, but if I never say it again, I'm saying it right now. I will
Hmm.
continually, but just thus far with just being again first time parents, and becoming ones in the pandemic has been particularly challenging. But
Hmm.
the village that has just surrounded us, I mean, I just thank God. I just thank God for him. So
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing. It is. And it literally takes a village. You're going to need help here, help there. You're going to need children, your child's age. All of that is going to work together to help you to be able to rear your children, help you to be able to have some time to yourself, to be able to work, all of those things. So it's definitely important.
And I see my girl Jazz. Hi, Jasmine. She's saying, that mommy village, like moms to moms, and giving each other a break
Yes.
has been a blessing. And my girl Olivia's on here. She's like, yes, I'm sure. I did. Yes, I know. I recognize. Thanks y'all for being on.
Yes, thank you all. And it's funny that you mentioned that the mommy group. So with me being in a new area, I joined a mom's group, and that was one of the things that came up as a suggestion to help people that were new in the area was to try to form some relationships and maybe have a mom club where you could start by maybe going to the park, just getting the kids acclimated to each other, getting the parents acclimated to each other, and then maybe having like a little circle where, Susie and Joe want to go on date night and they just need somebody to watch the kid for 2 hours. And then so you do it this time, next month it's your time. If you can get to that system, to that level, kudos. Like
Yeah.
that is awesome.
That's awesome. It is, yeah. And it's like, as things, it's outside, opens back up again, and
Mm-hmm.
are looking for those kind of activities, yeah, that would be great. There's one in Tallahassee. I haven't really tapped into it, but I know they did an event a couple months ago out at a park, and like you said,
Mm-hmm.
getting acclimated to one another, and then hope
Mm-hmm.
bonds, allow for just helping each other out. That's what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it's all about, is supporting
Yeah.
each other.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about schedules. So I imagine that your schedule changes from day to day, maybe even from week to week. But do you have a routine that you like to stick to? And if so, what does that look like? And how do you manage to stay afloat? Because I know for me, it seems like I can have the best of intentions, the best plans, and there's always something that will, get thrown into the mix. Or, halfway through the week, I'm super tired and I just want to kick my feet up and watch The Real Housewives. So, how do you keep your schedule afloat?
So that is a great question. And this is something, and I do not profess to have it all down pat. Like I'm learning and growing and
Mm-hmm.
figuring out work, what will work best for me in my life. But most recently, I have decided to break up certain days for certain portions of my responsibilities. So in addition to wife, mommy, first lady, full-time employee, entrepreneur. I also serve as communications chair for our FSU Black Alumni, Florida State University's Black Alumni. I'm the communications chair. I put together a monthly newsletter that goes out. And so, in addition to probably other stuff that I'm not even thinking about right now. So, what I've decided is certain days are for certain things. So if my husband has, a church flyer or some sort of event I need to, start planning or working on, those days are going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Enlightened First Lady stuff, I'm dedicating Mondays and Wednesdays to that. And usually it has to be the evenings, but sometimes if I know, I've got a good lunch break chunk, I might even dedicate some of my daytime work to those different portions. But that is kind of how I've organized my week. The weekends are kind of, willy-nilly right now.
Yes.
Nothing that I want to start incorporating just even a little bit more structure. But though, the weekends, I try to definitely pour into full-time mommy mode, and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, enriching things for Deuce to partake in, taking
Mm-hmm.
them to the museum. So that is how I rationalize, I guess, if for lack of a better term, how I feel like I'm making sure I'm being intentional about
Mm-hmm.
up for each of these things. Because like
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning with these commitments, these volunteer things are also something that I committed to do. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and like when I got pregnant, I had to tell, the alumni association, I was like, hey, I found a proxy. I found someone to step in because I knew I wasn't going to be able to show up in the ways that they needed me to because I was focusing on, bringing life into the world.
Yes.
So, and people, and so, as long as you are able to manage expectations in those ways with those other things that you're committed to, you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good because one thing that you basically said was that sometimes you're going to have to shift. And sometimes it may mean finding a proxy, or it may just mean saying no.
Yeah.
This is not the right time, it's not the right season. And I am actually kind of finding myself kind of going through that too because, I've got many things going on, and I'm finding that I'm just kind of torn between this long list of things to do. And it's like, okay, where do I start? If I could, I'd be up all night every day doing this. And I just can't do that. So you have to really take inventory of what's going on in your life. Is it appropriate for this season of your life? If you know that you've made a commitment to do XYZ throughout the summer, maybe something else is going to have to give. And, someone may say, hey, well, can you step in and do this? I would love to, but I'm sorry. I just can't. And so being able to get comfortable with saying no, that is a battle, but it's something that you absolutely need to do because no doesn't mean that you're just going to be disrespectful. It just means no, not right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could just be, I'm not interested. I'm not even going to try. But no, not right now. Maybe in another season. And you just need to get comfortable saying
Yes, definitely. That you are preaching to me right now.
that.
That's a huge thing, and I neglected to mention that I am a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, about to celebrate 10 years being in the sorority,
Oh,
and that
wow.
was huge. First of all, it was a dream come true when I was
Hmm.
initiated, but
Hmm.
you work when you're a member of these
Oh, I know.
um, it came a time I was starting to pursue my master's degree and knew that I was looking to start a family soon. And so, yeah, I took a step back, and everyone, was understanding. And now, again, like I'm feeling like that itch to start
Hmm.
involved. And my mom said, she was like, well, my mom is a wise woman. Shout out to Karen. Um,
Shout out to Mama.
okay, I hear you. I hear you wanting to do this, but she was like, what is going to come off your plate in order to make
Hmm.
for what you're trying to, get back into? And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I guess I got to think about that, pray about
Yeah.
that. So true, it's true because you want to also show up. You want to try to approach things with the spirit of excellence. And if you're being
Hmm.
too many ways, you're not going to be. I mean, even if you try, you risk burning out, and
Hmm.
and sometimes that could be really detrimental. So
Hmm. Definitely.
that inventory and taking stock of all that's going on is just so essential.
Hmm. Yeah. You mentioned sororities and any clubs or
Yeah.
organizations that you're a part of. If you're like me, you want to be able to give back at some point when you do have time. I'm on the community service chair for my sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho,
Okay.
and I, I love it. However, it's like that was great before I had the Confident Lily and had all these other things going on. And now it's like, I'm gonna have to step back a little bit. And when I can participate, when I can do service, I will,
Right.
because I do love that.
Yeah.
But like we said, just have to know the season of your
Yeah.
life and if it's appropriate for you.
And that's so funny. I'm rocking the blue and you're in the pink.
Yeah, very true. Pink is pink is one of my favorite colors. But I do love the blue and gold. Funny. Okay, so let's talk about entrepreneurial endeavors. So we are leaders. We are women that aspire to be something great, to give back in hopes that other people will receive